The place is very unexpected because you drive from Donnini, a little village, on a very uncomfortable road. You get through a wood, and then there is a wall. There's a wall covered with leaves, and somewhere in the wall a little door, and maybe on the door there's Beatrice waiting for you. And then you enter, and it's very unexpected. It's something that I try to do in my movies, which is to go for something which apparently is a bit, let's say, low-key, with a mystery. And then suddenly you enter in the world of Grisha and Beatrice, which is full of books, writer who made the books, writer who are writing the books, little dogs here and there, a beautiful field behind the house, which goes on a kind of belvedere where you can see a very wild part of Tuscany.
Innumerable words of poems and novels have been written here at Santa Maddalena, a heaven secluded deep in the Tuscan hills. The writer Gregor Vorrezzori, author of Memoirs of an Anti-Semite, The Death of My Brother Abel, and many other novels, lived and worked here for 30 years until his death in 1998. His wife, Beatrice Monti della Corte, has continued in the spirit of her husband's generous hospitality to friends and fellow artists by turning the house into a writer's retreat in the year 2000. It is as if Vorrezzori has never left. To these days, the place still breathes an atmosphere that inspires writing and the exchange of ideas.
Magic is a term that's so overused as to have become almost meaningless. And yet, when I got to Santa Maddalena, it did feel quite literally magical. I am not an especially portable writer. I don't write in hotel rooms. I don't write on airplanes. I write in the room in which I write. And I was slightly apprehensive about going to Santa Maddalena, as I would have been apprehensive about going anywhere, really. What if I get there and I find I just, for mysterious reasons, can't work there? And I arrived. I bowed down in awe to the beauty of the place. I was shown to my impossibly lovely room. I had the top 2 floors of the signal tower. Sort of set my laptop down on the desk. There was about an hour until dinner, and I started writing, which I never do. It was actually a little, it was fabulous and slightly upsetting. What? Stop! You can't do this. You need days to settle in before you can start to write anything. And really, I just felt in the presence of something. And I wrote a third of this novel in under 4 weeks.
Writers from all over the world, but especially American writers, find something here that has long since disappeared in the outside world. An encounter with other writers, often from different cultures, but with the same purpose and passions. In Tuscany, this has been a tradition since the Renaissance. This alone makes Santa Maddalena different from all other literary foundations, to be invited to Santa Maddalena for a 6 weeks fellowship is an honor. A close friend of the Rezzoris, Bruce Chatwin, who wrote here for long stretches between his journeys, established the tradition.
Bruce believed in a movement, and he believed to work in somewhere which possibly belonged to other people. He liked it better than to be on his, usually writer wants their own desk, their own chair, there's pen always in the right position. It was not like that. It was creating his ambiance wherever he went. Bruce was part of the sort of strange environment that house suggests. He was coming back and back again. And he also wrote an article which is part now of I think it's a collection of stories called What Am I Doing Here?, where he did explain why it was so good to work here and why he had the regrets not being there wherever else he was. And so we start thinking that really this was a place blessed for the writer in some way. And that helped me very much when Grisha died to think, we should sort of organize that in some way, make it more legal, and receive writer, who not that many, but with a certain sense of largesse, because, if you you change it into little rooms and it becomes, institution. It's not good. So the life continued to be bizarre, but with an enormous respect for the time of the writer and their freedom. They do exactly what they want. They just have to appear to the meal, that's all. And yes, it was in a way Bruce's model that continued.
And this is how, time and again, encounters are made that broaden horizons. Here, Russians meet Irishmen, Americans meet authors from India and South America. But there are also filmmakers, actors, publishers, who visit for an evening and bring new sources of inspiration.
I'd never been to a place like Santa Maddalena before, and I was introduced to Beatrice and Grisha when I was filming The English Patient. We were filming, I think, in Viareggio, and on a Sunday when we were not working, we drove over. And I remember the journey down the track to the house and being greeted by Grisha and Beatrice, and this extraordinary atmosphere of this hidden jewel of a house on this Tuscan hillside. I remember the charm of Grisha and Beatrice, and I remember this extraordinary atmosphere, unique, a concentration of energy that two people had created in one house. Beautiful things, beautiful objects, but a place where you immediately felt that the rest of the world disappeared, and something like a sanctuary, it felt like.
I've finished in longhand, but I'm typing at the moment because I work in longhand. A short story about a small town in Ireland in 1967, and it couldn't be further away from here. It's October. It's a bad October. It's raining and there's wind. The emotions in it are very small, tiny, melancholy things. There are no great churches or great buildings. The building I'm describing is a small house with a galvanized iron roof with 4 small rooms in it. It couldn't be any different. So they're moving from this beautiful house and this beautiful landscape and going to Florence and coming back here into what's in here. Oddly enough, you get much greater power. You can concentrate much more on that thing when you don't have it around you.
American writers who come to Santa Maddalena not only love the beauty of the place, they also appreciate discovering the rich history of this part of Europe, as well as the dialogue with writers from other parts of the world.